Greetings from Crystal River, Florida.
Welcome to the latest installment of the Brassy Roadcast. We're on another road trip, friends. I'm Jen Eads, the head broad in charge at the Brassy Broadcasting Company.
And I'm Beth Kindig, the trusty traveling companion of the Brassy Broad.
And we are coming to you. It's actually our anniversary.
It is our anniversary. Happy 8-year, but we know it's more than that.
Yes, it's our official wedding anniversary, which we were reminded of when you logged into Facebook this morning and it popped up as a memory.
Thank God, because we don't have our Tervis tumbler with us that has the actual date on there that our friends got us. That is what usually piques our memory for this one. It was Facebook. Just another reason to have Facebook.
Yeah. In addition to the many reasons not to have Facebook.
Are you saying you don't want to remember our anniversary?
I want to remember our anniversary. There's just some things about Facebook that I'm not a big fan of.
That's for another podcast.
That's for another day, because we are talking about our latest travel adventures. So we are in Crystal River right now, but this adventure actually started as a trip to the Villages in Central Florida to visit our friends Wendy and Lisa for a few days. But before we even get to the Villages, we've got to start about the drive from Indianapolis down to the Villages, because unlike the last time we drove to Florida, we decided to split this up and actually spend the night and take our time and not feel rushed, so that the primary driver, which is not me, would not get exhausted. Are you glad that we split it up?
You know that old saying, it's the journey, not the destination. And I think we have fully embraced that finally. I am no longer wanting to do a straight through drive.
It's much more fun, too. I didn't feel stressed at all on this drive.
I didn't either, especially since we bypassed Atlanta.
That's right. So what's the route that you planned for us this time?
It was an easy shot down 65 all the way to Montgomery, which we'll talk about in a moment. But then we picked up 231 and brought that into Florida. It was a much easier route than going through Chattanooga and Atlanta.
Yeah, you seemed a lot less stressed this time.
That's a good word for it.
And we made some stops along the way. So the first stop was in Montgomery, because I wanted to go see where Hank Williams was buried.
And I really thought that we were going to be the only two people at his gravesite, and huge monument that it was. And when we walked up, there were two other ladies there, and I kind of laughed and said to them, gee, I thought we'd be the only weird ones here. And they're like, oh, well, you need to go to the Hank Williams Museum. So then we were off on another adventure.
We were, and I liked the museum. I didn't even know that there was a Hank Williams Museum. But we ventured to the museum. It's downtown, and it had some really cool stuff. It had his Cadillac that he unfortunately passed away in the back seat of. And it also had a bunch of his nudie suits. And I didn't realize that he was kind of the guy that was the first to wear those suits and popularize them.
And that is spelled Nudie, but that is a name and not just something kinky.
Correct. Yes. Thank you for that clarification, sure. Co-host.
And you know how I like to give traveler tips. Here's a traveler tip for you folks. If you are going to go to the Hank Williams Museum, make sure you go to the bathroom before you get there. No public restrooms. And I think it's a well-documented fact that I need my public restrooms. I didn't need it desperately, but I needed the bathroom. And the woman said, oh, no, we don't have any public restrooms.
There was kind of a shameful lack of public restrooms in downtown Montgomery, at least from our experience.
I would agree. And her answer to we don't have public restrooms was, oh, we'll just, find a restaurant to go in. So when I finally left the museum in search of a public restroom, the first 4 restaurants down the way from the museum all had big signs in their door, no public restrooms, which I was more than happy to go in and buy a beverage of some nature, which is what I ended up doing, because they don't have any public restrooms.
And you wound up at the Tower Tap Room, which I absolutely loved. You are not a big fan of beer, but I am.
Yes, not a fan of beer at all, but they had a really delicious pink lemonade, because I am crazy.
What was so cool about this place is it reminded me of There used to be a yogurt shop that we would go to, and you got your cup and then you filled it up and you paid by the ounce of yogurt. You paid by the weight. So depending on the number of sprinkles and, toppings and all of the things. Well, at the Tower Tap Room, you got a card, you slid your card into the tap, and then you poured your beer and you poured your own, and you could try all sorts of different beers. I ended up just having a lovely Kolsch, but it was just, I'd never seen that concept in like a tap room before.
Brewers in Indianapolis, are you listening? Here's a great marketing business idea for you. Pay as you flow.
Nice. Very nice.
Montgomery is a city that is definitely steeped in history. Unfortunately, some of the history is not very pleasant, as we witnessed when we did their river walk. They had an area that had one of those pictorial timelines of, the history of the city. Part of the area that we were in was also kind of known, the alley was known as the slave trade area. So it has some disturbing history. It was also the spot, though, of the Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat on the bus, which was awesome. But it was interesting nonetheless from a historical standpoint, just disturbing in ways.
Yeah, it really was. It just felt heavy, kind of walking through and reading the history, even though I'm glad that they actually acknowledge it.
I agree. And the next time through there, not on the way home, I don't think, because will be in a mission to get home. Perhaps we should go to the Rosa Parks Museum instead of the Hank Williams Museum. I think I'd have a little more interest in that.
Okay, we will put...
No slam to Hank Williams, just a slam to their lack of public bathrooms. And their staff could use a little customer service training too. I say this because Jen got into a little bit of trouble, which when she related it to me really honked me off, but I was told I could not pursue it.
Okay, so at the Hank Williams Museum, they have a very strict no photography, no video policy, which I totally get it, right?
Absolutely. There shouldn't be. I mean, certain museums prefer you don't do that. I totally get that. There's a way that you can convey that to people. There's also a way that you can question someone thinking that perhaps they had, in fact, taken a picture.
Yeah, so at one point, after Beth had gone in search of a restroom, she texted me to let me know where she was. And not thinking, I pulled out my phone and just looked at the text. And I think I said, okay. And that was the end of it. And then continued on walking through the exhibits. And then I get out and the woman at the desk was like, I need to see the picture that you took. And I was like, I didn't take any pictures. So it was just a little unpleasant.
Well, I think there would have been another way she could have approached that with much less attitude. And when you came down to the brewery and had a beverage and told me about this, I wanted to march back there and give that woman a piece of my mind. Instead, I just wrote a strongly worded review on TripAdvisor.
And there you have it. The mayor has spoken.
She messed with the wrong girl.
I really think it bothered you a lot more than it bothered me.
I think when you first got to the brewery, you were a little hot under the collar. And then as relaying the story to me, you kind of lessened it. And the more you talked, the more upset I got. So we did like this transference thing that we often do. So yeah, once you were done telling the story, you cleansed yourself.
Yeah, and then I just kind of chalked it up to maybe she was just having a really bad day. And so, friends, those are our thoughts on Montgomery.
Again, if I go back, I'd like to go to Rosa Parks Museum.
Yeah, I think there's a few museums there I would like to visit. So I do think we need to go back there. Then we went on to Dothan and spent the night and weren't really sure where we were going to stay.
Dothan is actually a much larger city than I had imagined. So as we're coming into town, we're seeing billboards for different places to stay. And I've always enjoyed a Hampton Inn. When I was still working, that's always where I stayed. And they were always pretty reliable and consistent with what they provided. But this time we stayed at a Home 2, numeral 2, not TWO. Yeah, home too.
I loved it. I thought it was great. And it was like compared to the rates that I was seeing online for like the Hampton and the Hilton and all of that other stuff, super reasonably priced, super clean. The room was great. The check-in, like the staff there was incredible, super welcoming, super helpful, just a great all-around experience.
You know, I like the traveler tips, and I've just come up with, I'm going to call it Beth's Travel Tips. That's a new thing that I'm going to do on the podcast. So Beth's Travel Tip is this. If you are a member of AAA, you can count on them to come, change your flat tire, jump your car battery if it's dead. Don't count on them for big, massive discounts for hotel stays because they're not there at all. Because we didn't even use AAA, did we? No. Because we got such a good rate at this, and they're owned by Hilton, correct? Pretty sure they are. So just going directly through them was much cheaper than anything that we found elsewhere through any AAA or AARP, although I'm not a member of that anymore. Hey, guess what? You're eligible now.
Oh, great.
Yeah, 50 and above. We're getting you an AARP card.
It keeps getting better.
Yeah, it sure does.
Okay, so then we leave Dothan. We get to the villages.
We are, get up, footloose, fancy, free, and fresh, and on our merry way to the villages. So,
oh, wait. Also, the breakfast that they had was really good. They had a waffle maker. They had cereal. They had biscuits. They had gravy.
They had eggs.
They had coffee. They had juice. It was good. I thought that the breakfast was really good.
Yeah, it was definitely a good value for the money. Plus, sidebar or backtrack, I guess, for a minute, they had a kitchenette that was very well equipped. The refrigerator in that place was not one of those little dinky ones under the counter. I mean, it was as tall as I was. Yeah. They had a microwave, and didn't they have a dishwasher under that counter thing?
Yeah, so thumbs up all the way around.
Big thumbs up.
And then on to the villages, where we had to get there by a certain time because our friends had already started scheduling the activities for the week. And up first was darts. Okay,
I don't know if any of you folks have heard about the villages, thought about the villages, visited the villages. I'm not sure exactly what I had anticipated. I think I was going back to the days in the 80s and 90s when I would drive down to see my mom in Bradenton, and it was like every other mile on 75 had a billboard about the villages and easy living and golf every day. And I don't know what I was thinking, but it was everything I was thinking, I guess, and more. I've never... It was like Disneyland for adults, is probably one of the better way to describe it. But it was also a little Stepford too. And our friends Wendy and Lisa lived there, and we met some of the nicest people that they've already met. And I kid you not, the only reason I would want to move there is because of these people. And the fact that, yes, there are multiple golf courses, but we are so tired from all the activities that the villages have to offer that we were pretty excited to come here to Crystal River and just kind of relax for a little bit. And we did on the beach this afternoon. But there's a lot to do in the villages. They are, you can't be bored there if you are willing to get involved. Darts, pickleball, golf, swimming pools, card clubs, what's the new card thing that they're playing? Samba. I'm sure there's, euchre, there's pool, there's ping pong, it's summer camp for adults. And I just don't even know that I'm describing it very well. Oh, so they have different town squares for the different villages that they have, because the villages isn't just one village. The villages are multiple villages. And every night, every single night, not just the weekends, they have live music on their town square. And these 60, 70, 80, 90-year-old people are up cutting a rug to these live bands. And we stood around and listened to a couple of them. We didn't really actually, quote, attend a concert. But man, there's just a lot going on.
Do you know what my favorite part about the live music was?
No, Jen, what was your favorite part?
That it ended at 9:00.
Well, I did forget to mention that. While there are many, many activities, they do roll up the sidewalks at 9 p.m., probably because everybody's so exhausted from doing something all day long.
I was beat. And I thought that I was in I'm not in great shape, but, I try to go to jujitsu 3 to 4 times a week and, move my body and get some exercise. And 7:00 rolled around and I was ready to go to bed every night, even though I did manage to stay up past that.
Honey, that's what we do at home, too. There have been nights when we've gone to bed before 9 p.m.
Well, that's because it's wintertime and it's dark and cold and it's Indiana, so who cares?
How do you explain when we do that in the summertime then, to your point?
Well, we've been out having activities during the day and we're tired. We've been doing stuff.
Yeah. No, it was very tiring. Fun. So much fun. And I just want to say again, the people that Wendy and Lisa have met are just delightful people. And there was this woman at pickleball, and I talk about, perhaps not on this podcast because it's not a travel topic, but I'm in a bowling league, and there are 3 women who are over the age of 90 in my league, and they're just an inspiration. And I didn't think it could get any better than that until we met the 92-year-old woman playing pickleball who smoked you a couple times.
Oh, yeah, she did.
But you had never played pickleball before. I wasn't sure how this would go because you're not really what I would term athletic. I've seen you throw a ball. You throw incorrectly with the wrong foot leading, but that's another story for another day. You were so good at pickleball. I mean, everybody was telling you, I can't believe you just started playing today, like the first day you played. Then we went and got you a better pickleball racket.
Paddle. It's a paddle.
Yeah. I've only been playing this for 3 years now. I should know the correct vernacular. Yes, pickleball paddle. But you were so good. I was really, truly impressed with you.
Thank you. And I tried to keep my expectations somewhat reasonable as I learned.
You only uttered, the F word like twice. Everybody turned and looked at you, but it was only twice. I'm kidding. No, you did a very good job of not thinking you had to go out and be the best at it, which is probably why you went out and were pretty darn good at it. I mean, you really were good.
Thank you. It's actually surprising to hear you say that.
It's probably surprising for you to say it too.
And then we played a little golf, which I don't know how I don't think I played at all last summer. And then I'd played once or twice, maybe in the last 3 or 4 years.
Maybe, but I don't even know that you've played that much. So for those who may not know, Jen has a tendency to overestimate what her ability should be when she's playing a sport that she doesn't play but once every 3 or 4 years. And we've had a couple instances on the golf course where things haven't been pretty. I'm not going to go into detail and tell any stories on you because I've told that one story so many times it's getting old even for me to tell it. But this time around, you did much better. And I know your arm was hurting, your elbow was hurting because of all your pickleball activity. But it was fun. It was fun playing golf with you this time.
Thank you. Well, we went to pitch and putt. So I only had 2 clubs. I had my pitcher. I had my putter.
Not your pitcher. Honey.
Not my pitcher.
Pitcher's baseball. You had your pitching wedge.
Oh, see.
Jeez. So Pete.
Okay, so I had my pitching wedge.
Oh, thank you.
And my putter.
Oh,
is that better?
Oh, my God.
I kind of like calling it a pitcher better.
Yeah, I bet you do.
But it was nice. I only had 2 clubs that I had to think about. And I figure if I can learn to use 2 clubs really well, then that's a really great start for me.
Honey, the where you will make up strokes in your game is on your short game. So pitching and putting are hugely important. You drive for show and you putt for dough.
And there you have it, friends. Golfing wisdom from Beth Kindig. The other thing that was so cool about this golf course is we saw an alligator.
Yes, we did. We did see an alligator. I was getting confused with crocodile and alligator, and I can never remember which one is in what location.
Yeah, he was sitting right outside the water, and I was feeling really grateful that I didn't hit my ball over towards him.
He actually wasn't sitting, because I think that would be physically impossible. He was laying by the water.
Thank you.
Have you ever seen a gator sit? There's got to be a joke there someplace. I'll come up with it. Go on. Get back with me.
Okay, thanks. Okay. We will move right along then. The other thing, like, there were golf carts everywhere. Like, that is the primary mode of transportation.
You know, we didn't do the golf cart thing the first few days we were there, so I don't think we appreciated it until a very generous friend of Wendy and Lisa's let us use her golf cart while she was gone.
Shout out to Linda.
Thank you, Linda, for your golf cart. Much appreciated. Hope you got the $5 I stuck on the steering wheel. Because this place is huge, so I know you weren't out there when the realtor came to see Wendy and Lisa, and she was talking about the villages. I want to say that it is 22 miles from one side to the other, and I can't remember the square mileage and the number. Oh my God, the number of different neighborhoods and whatnot. But that's why they have to have all these golf carts. So every road you're on in the villages, you're gonna run into a golf. Well, you hopefully don't run into a golf cart, but you will see golf carts. And then there are some roads that actually have a lane specifically for golf carts and bicycles. But they have bridges and tunnels that go over and under the main thoroughfares that cut through the villages and kind of separate them from side to side. So when we finally did our golf cart tour and ride, then I think we understood why every single person has a golf cart. Most people have a separate cute little garage for their little golf cart. And I'm telling you, some of these golf carts, I bet you they're worth more than my car.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some of them were decked out like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, it was super fancy.
Very fancy, and a little scary. Sometimes driving them. We were on that bridge going over to Sumter, I think, and going across that water. Remember? And the road was. I mean, we had like 2 inches on each side of us. It was a little scary, but yeah, you got to have a golf cart if you're going to live in the villages.
Exactly. And then we lounged around a bit this morning and headed on over to Crystal River. And you booked the cutest little Airbnb called the Boho Chateau.
Absolutely. And I wasn't sure. The only thing that I knew about Crystal River from doing just a little bit of research, because I knew at some point during this trip we wanted to hit the ocean. So I was just looking for something that wouldn't be too far south, relatively straight across from where we were, that would be convenient for when we left for home. So then I saw this Crystal River area, how you can snorkel with the manatees, you can swim with the manatees, or what we're doing, kayak with the manatees. I don't snorkel really much, and it's cold. I mean, we got in the water today, and it was a little chilly. So tomorrow morning we're going to do the kayak thing, but in searching for a place to stay, came across this place, and I can tell you just from the photographs, I'm like, oh man, this looks right up our alley, because we always like to find something that is not run-of-the-mill, that's really well done, cute. Eclectic's not the word I want. It's so well appointed, but just so comfortable too. And we found it with this place. We absolutely did.
Yeah, it's like a little hidden gem. You knocked it out of the park with this.
I think I have a great string of knocking them out of the park here with some of the Airbnbs, and definitely this one. I mean, as I'm looking around the room, the color palette is soothing. It's just really neat. It's just a really neat place. And Tim and Amy, when we got here, Amy was doing some laundry, and I think she felt bad she was here when we got here, but it was great because then we got to meet her, and then we met Tim. And
the dog.
Oh my God, the dog, Lizzie. Oh, this dog is so cute. She's a part Corgi and Shepherd, I think they said. She is such a sweetheart. She has such a sweet face, and you would never know she's 10 years old because she acts like a puppy. But she greeted us, and it was really great to meet them because then when we got home from our adventures today, they invited us out to, they have this really cool area out in the back where there's a fire pit, and it's just really neat, some pretty solar lights, and it was just great. So we sat out there for a while and talked to them until the bugs were starting to get to me.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things is, you know, when you get to an Airbnb and there's the book and, you know, it's got like the Wi-Fi code and all that stuff. This is the most well put together, packed full of information and restaurant menus, like anything you could think of, it's in that binder.
I have never seen a binder this well done before. It's right up my, obsessive compulsive anal alley because it.
Let's rephrase that.
No, let's leave that in here. Come on, anal alley. Come on, people will love it. Don't cut this out. Don't edit me on that one. Anal alley. That's gonna be one for the books. Please don't cut that out. You're laughing so hard you can't even hold the microphone. I'll take the microphone. Thank you. All right. Now I've got control of the microphone, and she's not gonna get it back. Anyway, she's laughing. She's red. She's laughing so hard. I'm gonna be serious now. So straighten up and fly right. So if Amy's not in the hospitality field, she should be, because not only does she know how to really put an Airbnb together, but she really did a great job on the book. And I don't mean to slight Tim, because I'm sure he had a hand in all of this as well. But two thumbs up to the Boho Chateau in Crystal River, Florida. No, I'm not. No, she just reached for the microphone, and I'm not going to give it back to you. And you darn well better not edit things out that I think are funny. What's next on your list of things to talk about there, Jen? Oh yes, okay. So tomorrow, we're going to do the manatee. We're going to do the manatee.
If you're going to use the microphone, talk into it.
I thought I wasn't supposed to talk into it because I was popping my peas.
Not directly. We got to work on your mic.
Is this how I'm supposed to talk into it? Ooh. Okay. So tomorrow we are doing the manatee, kayaking. And then I think we're going to go back to the beach. What was the name of the beach we went to? Fort Island Beach.
And there's the Great Florida Birding Trail that we need to check out.
Don't think I didn't get excited when I saw that sign. And yes, we will check that out. Do you want to talk about dinner before we forget about that?
Okay, so we found this place on the way to Fort Island Beach called the Shrimp Landing Seafood. And it kind of really just looked like a food truck. And it was phenomenal. The seafood was so good. And they had a little screened in area, and we ended up sitting there to eat because the bugs were starting to get bad, the little no-see-ums, and just looked at, the intercoastal water and saw a pelican, and it was gorgeous, and the food was delicious.
It looked like a food truck because it was a food truck. That's probably why. And the area that was screened in that we sat in and ate our wonderful dinner was not necessarily part of the food truck, but I think it had to do with the marina where all the boats were going out. So just wanted everybody to know, if they're looking for something that's like a food truck, look for something that is a food truck. Jeez. When do we get home? Because I think we're in another one of those situations where we're spending a little too much time together. I had the grilled grouper. You had the fried grouper, and we also had steamed shrimp, and really was delicious. Really, really good. That's the first really great seafood I think I've had since we've been on this trip. One more thing I want to have before we get back into Indiana is some really good barbecue too, so keep that in mind.
Okay, that will do it for this installment of the Brassy Roadcast. Make sure that you tune in for part 2 to hear all about the kayaking with the manatees.
And I still haven't relinquished the microphone. I'm just holding on to it and letting her talk into it. So there.
Thanks for listening, and we will see you on the road.